Hello. Woke up this morning, just had a very interesting dream about I was with somebody, a man who was doing cocaine. I was with a man who was doing cocaine and had his friend there doing cocaine with him, a female, and then her boyfriend was there as well. And I was in the other room with the children, whoever the children were. They didn't feel like my kids, but they were kids I was responsible for or something, or we were responsible for. Maybe they were our kids. And I was just like going to him and being like, well, cut it out. Like this isn't cool and I'm not okay with it. And we have kids right in the next room. And he wouldn't stop. And then like maybe he said he was going to stop, but he didn't. And then the boyfriend of his friend told me that he didn't stop. So I went and I tried to like take his drugs, so he would stop doing them in the house. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, like that's so not something I want to be involved in or live out or anything. Like, ew. And then I just thought, like, that would never happen to me today. Like, that's a situation that could have happened to me in the past in my life. Sure. So I tried to like process how it made me feel and things like that. And like I saw the contrast to like who I am today and who I was when I might have lived something like that out. And the contrast is that I would never, ever, ever like allow that. I would like the thing is I wouldn't be with somebody who didn't share my values anymore. Why wouldn't I? Because I've been with somebody who didn't share my values and it wasn't fun. It was a sacrifice. It was a compromise. And I don't need to sacrifice or compromise. I am worthy of my own values and I have a high integrity. I want to live in line with my values. I don't want to compromise them anymore. And I am sad that I did it. And I am apologetic to the version of me that I did it to. And assuring her that I've learned that that's not something that I will do again because I don't have to. And it doesn't feel good. And it doesn't honor who I am. So I will never do that. And it's so funny because at the earlier time in my life when I might have lived something like that out, and in the dream, the fact that I would try to like take this person's drugs from them to like remove the situation instead of removing the person is silly because it's so blinded to the big picture, and the big picture is like I'm not compatible with this person. I'm not compatible with this person. They want to live a different lifestyle than me. Why am I even having this person in my life? I have higher standards than they do. They can go live that out and maybe they'll mature someday. Maybe they'll drive themselves into the ground someday. I know better, so I'm going to do better, I've had time with drugs. I've had times when I made terrible decisions and put drugs before things that should have been more important. And I've learned what I needed to learn from that. I don't need to live that out again. I don't need to watch somebody else live that out again. I am perfectly up to date and have achieved mastery on the understanding I need to know better than to throw my life away on something so silly and temporarily I hesitate to even say temporarily a solution because it doesn't solve shit. You end up broke, you're out of your mind, you've probably burned a lot of bridges, you've hurt some people, including yourself. Your body has to recover. You have to now regain trust of your own body and your own self to start making good decisions for yourself again. And you're not contributing meaningfully to your own life or the lives of others at all in any way. You are a detriment to yourself and society in those moments. And, that's okay if that's the choice that you make. you know, I'm not saying that you don't deserve to live in that state if that's what you choose, but like, I know that because I've lived that, so I don't want to live that anymore. That's what I know. So, so that dream was kind of just like, huh. And then like it made me realize, okay, I maybe have some amends to make with this version of myself that I did that to. So I'm so glad to be telling a different story about my life now. And I just got my oracle bucket out, and I said, what next? What's great for me to focus on now? I got cycle, love, new story, detoxify, and reconciliation. So, love that we're in a new cycle. All here for it. I know it's a great cycle because I know I've upgraded myself energetically. Love is who I am, so not sad about seeing that here. We got new story, which is something so beautiful because it's like a new story can be actively told to myself, right? Like I can tell a new story with every moment, with every experience, with every plan that I have, with every celebration I do. Like it's a new experience that I'm in. So to look at life through the old lens would just rob me of the excitement that I could have for the newness that there is. So just like really focused in on the new story. And the new story is basically a story that is life through the lens of it's all happening for me. I'm growing and learning. I'm achieving what I want to, and I'm kind of flowing through this experience where if there's something that I didn't expect, I'm expecting that at least it's happening for me, right? Even if it were to be like that my car, you know, ceased to work or whatever, like, or got stolen or something, like I would have easily and naturally assume that there was a good reason that life was having me have this experience, and I wouldn't go into things like what it means about me or poor me or I can't overcome this, or I would not go into victim mentality, and it would be very easy for me not to at this stage, whereas that's much different from before. much different from before. And detoxify, I totally get. Detoxification is something that I am working on. And like I said in another video, I want to show you my whole juice fasting. And I just haven't started the juice fast yet. I haven't started juicing yet. And the reason was I'm still recovering and still needing a lot of rest to kind of get my energy back. And so the little bit of energy that I've had has gone towards like different things that I needed to get done. And not towards kind of like cleaning up. Like I have some, like my water that I got from the water spring is just like in the bag on the middle of the floor. I did a little bit of shopping. I found a couple things for my family members in bags on the floor. Some new sheet sets on the floor, piled up. You know, right here I have some dry erase markers. They've been here for weeks, I've realized. And I just don't know what I'm going to do with them. Where do I store these dry erase markers? I don't know. I'm going to have to find a spot for them that I'll know where to get them when I need them. Because I do have a dry erase board that I use for my business. I just flashed to a dry erase board that I donated that I still have regrets about donating, which is so silly because I don't need it. I barely ever use my dry erase board. And I can make do with it just being the only one I have when I need it. So it's silly to like, that's the lack mentality that still seeps in. So that just tells me there's a fragment of me, there's a part of me that still isn't on board with the new story yet, that doesn't realize that it's all happening for me. Even the experience of donating something that I think I'll need, it's revealing to me a part of me that still wants to hoard. Right? I don't need to hoard. I don't need 2 dry erase boards. Like, I just really don't. It's not ideal for me to store a lot of extra stuff here in this very small place that I live. I do like stuff. I do find that having a lot of things on hand that I need feels comfortable to me, right? But like, it's also uncomfortable to me when there's too many things to put away. Like, if there's no spot for it, then I don't want it. Like, I do believe that I can just have things that I need flow to me as I need them. So I'm content with helping all the parts of me that don't know that yet catch up with me there. And then when we have reconciliation come out for me, that is something that's come out before, and I just don't know what it means. Sometimes it references certain people, but let's see what it's saying today. Because I don't particularly feel like I will need to reconnect with people from my past. But I'm not close to it. I mean, not for like, I'm not talking like about ex-boyfriends or anything. Like, I'm not still like holding a flame for my ex or anything like that, or any man from my past. That is, like, as far as I'm concerned, the men of my past have served the purpose that they had in my life, and I'm thankful for it, and I wouldn't trade the experiences that I've had. But like, I'm not longing for them again. Like what I did learn was like that being compatible with somebody matters. Sharing values with somebody matters. And that's the things that I didn't have with those men that I've been with so far. Some closer than others, right? Like, some closer than others for sure. But like, a lot of, like, earlier on, it was just like I was very immature and I was damaged and traumatized. So of course I attracted people who were the same. So say they had done as much work as I've done on myself, they're completely different people now if they have. I'm a completely different person now, right? Like, I'm more true to who I am than I've ever been before. So it's possible that they have grown and learned. And if that was the case, and if we had the same values and, we could relate, I would certainly welcome friendships in with people from my past. I'm asking about reconciliation, and we've got node reversal and nutrition. So I'm sharing my own reading with you, but like, if you're here watching this, take this as something for you to reflect on as well, right? I should just read it as if it's for you, because then I can get my own biases out of the way and probably get a better accurate reading. So let me try to flip into that mindset, okay? Yeah, there's someone that you're jaded. You're jaded about the situation. And I think it's a matter of reconciling the jadedness, right? And I think when I tie this to what I was just talking about with my dream, it's like you gain some wisdom from a situation. You know better who you are. You know the lesson. You've learned it. But there's still some sort of slight tension. It's very slight. And so you may have it's like a little scrap that still needs to be rectified from a situation where you weren't being nourished. And maybe you even neglected nourishing yourself through the situation. So you got to reconcile with that. Like, why did you do that? Like, okay, well, maybe you did that because that was all you knew. Like, there's certainly this coping mechanism that can happen in dysfunctional relating patterns that looks like people pleasing. And people pleasing often happens for the purpose of creating yourself as valuable to someone else. So if you're trying to do things to create yourself as valuable to someone else, that means you don't know your own value. So the part of me that didn't know her own value is the one who let us be in that situation. And she needs my love right now. So if you have a part like that too, needs your love right now. can you change the story about it and look at it as more of like it was an adventure? You know, like it was one of those thriller adventure movies where you know this main character is putting themselves in danger. They're making some decisions that if they could see the big picture like we can, they might not have done that. But they're having an adventure. It's thrilling for them to survive this, right? And if you can kind of change the story that way and let that part of you know that there's no shame, there's no blame for having let us be in that situation, because that was the time for that situation to be. We were looking at something from another side. Maybe if we were a person who grew up in a household where mom and dad just were healthy and pretty non-dysfunctional in their relating, and they just told us, hey, don't go around men who do drugs. Don't go around men who do drugs. And so we just went through life and went, all right, you do drugs, I'm not going to be around you. Sure, we would end up in the same place we are now. Because right now, if I met a man who was into cocaine or something, I would just be like, no, thank you. Right? So I end up in the same place where I would have been if my parents were healthy and kind of informed me that that would be a bad idea, right? However, I wouldn't know why. It wouldn't be wisdom. It would be their shared wisdom, maybe, or their shared suggestion. It would be their programming that made me decide not to experience someone with drugs. And that's good. And maybe someone doesn't need the experience that I needed, because that's not what they're here to learn. But I came to learn seeing the nitty-gritty, the underbelly of things. This would make sense since I'm a Scorpio. Lots of Scorpio energy in me. Or available to me, I should say. So I wanted to look at the other part of it. Like, what makes somebody come to that conclusion? Well, you get in the situation, maybe you do it yourself, maybe you're feeling trapped in a situation where it's around you, and you look at, I mean, I don't know how many times I lost everything from cocaine. I think I could count at least 3 times in my own life that I lost everything while doing cocaine, meaning place to live, job, money, car. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So silly, because it doesn't solve anything. Leaves you feeling worse, blah, blah, blah. So I experienced the reason why I don't want that in my life. Why I would say, oh, you do cocaine, I'm all set. I'm not going to get involved with you. Why I would is because I know from experience and my wisdom gained that I'm better off staying clear of those kind of things. Already learned what I needed to learn, right? So it's like, that was an adventure. That was like, I got into the story. I lived it out. I like saw firsthand what it was like to actually be in those situations in like crack houses where there's just like homeless people and graffiti and like, you know, people passed out with needles and like being scared that people were pulling guns and like taking retaliation and thievery and just like people wanting sexual favors for drugs and just gross people neglecting their children, gross misconduct of the very scary kind. And I experienced it all firsthand, and so you can tell how sick you can tell how I've been feeling. See, that part of me also would claim sickness. Okay, so she's active right now, right? This part of me that feels jaded, that's like, I don't want that experience and I'm sick, you know? It's like, okay, well, it's all right. You can feel that way. Like, that was how I was brought up. That is the reality of the girl that I was brought up as. But I have a new story now. And I want to bring her into my new story. So I'm offering her to think of those things as an adventure that she went through and survived and is wiser because of. And that even the need to rest doesn't have to be thought of as illness. It can be thought of as a time to ask my body what it needs and to help detoxify my body. My body is like expelling energy with every cough, with every sneeze, with everything that is happening. So there's a new story that I can tell about an old experience that I've had that will help that part of me join in on the new story and realize that we're not a victim, we're not lacking value. It's not because we're not worth anything that we experience that. It doesn't have anything to do with how valuable we are. It's just something we wanted to learn about as a soul coming into Earth. We said, let's look at this. Let's really understand it. Let's see. You know, not only do I know why I don't want to live that way, I know what gets a person into that. I know about addiction. I know when you think that's the only choice you have. I know when you didn't give a fuck if you live the next day or not. I know when you're in such self-sabotage and self-destruction that those are the choices that you make. I know all of that too. And when I know all of that, I am prepared to be an example of someone who had come out of that, you know, who rode that like it was a wave to surf and came out the other side. And I think that if we are, as a society, to realize our potentials that we've come here for, it does take knowing that it's possible to surf it out of it. And how do you know it's possible to surf out of it but to see another example of somebody who's surfed out of it? And I'm sure, I can't think of anything in particular or know any turning points or whatever, but I'm sure that I was given examples of people who had come out of, you know, darker situations to know that it was possible for me too. Okay, let me ask the bucket if there's anything else on reconciliation. So it's like reconciling with the parts of me that from my past that hadn't quite gotten on board with the new story, that needed a better way to explain what she had been through. I would have said that, yeah, we covered it on reconciliation because we got 6th house, which is day-to-day living and work, and psyche, which is like, you know, basically imprinting your psyche with the new story. But then we got Cupido. Reconciling and Cupido together also suggests a person, right? Maybe it's actually loving the part of us that led us into that. Let's do that for a moment before we assume that this is a person. Let's love the part of us who led us into darkness, because that part is just a immature, naive part of us who was really, truly trying her best to survive and to escape pain. And escaping pain is an important part of surviving. Thank goodness. You know, she reached for something to escape her pain. That was living. Part of her still always wanted to live because she was reaching for a relief from her pain. So she was loving us the only way that she knew how in those moments, with what she learned, with what she saw, what she could reach for. Yeah, Narcissus, it's about self-love. Reconciling with the unloved parts of me from the past. Reconciling with the unloved parts of you from the past. Those parts need to be written into the new story. right? It's like when you're watching a series and you've been watching it a while and you know the characters really well, and then all of a sudden another character pops up and is in town from the past of one of these characters that you know so well, and it's like, where did this person come from? Oh, they're gonna F everything up. And it's like an old flame of the main, one of the people in the main couple of the story or whatever, right? And it's like, oh, this person, right? And it's like, no, this person is written into the story now, and we must love this part of us, like as if the part of us that is resurfacing from the past is, a part of us. Like if it was really just someone in the story, like we wouldn't necessarily have to welcome them in, right? I don't know, maybe my example wasn't the best one in that way. But this is definitely about self-love for the unloved parts of us from the past that lived a different story, that may still be jaded by that story that was lived out, and to reframe it perhaps as an adventure, perhaps as finding out what was good for us and what we prefer. We know what we do want by knowing what we don't want. That is something that Abraham Hicks says, very valuable kind of mindset to have. And the other thing is, these are subtle parts of us. Like, they're not very loud, right? Like, when I had my dream, it showed me that part of me very clearly. And the contrast between my life now and what my life used to be was shown to me in that dream. And I was reminded of that. So it was that subtle that it showed up through my dream. So in your life, where is it showing up subtly? And it could show up in your dreams. It could be another way, but like anywhere there's angst, anywhere there's avoidance, anywhere there's just like this, something that's not reconciled within us. Bring it into the new story and let it enjoy the new cycle of life that we now find ourselves in. Ta-da! Let's celebrate how far we've come. It really has been a journey, and it wouldn't have been as fun without all of those contrasting experiences, to be honest, right? Like, would I be as happy sitting here in this freedom and this peace and this wonder, ready to take on the new step, had I not been through those experiences that I had in the past? Would it really be? Would I really be this enriched and this ready for something new had I not experienced what I experienced in the past? Had I not had those adventures of risk and thrill and danger? I don't know. I guess I'll never know now, right? Like, well, maybe I will know at some point, but like within this lifetime, in this context of this, conversation, I'm going to be okay with not knowing and assuming that this was something that enriched me, as any adventure would. Okay, I am going to stop this video here, and I will see you in the next one.